They say success makes people remember your name, but in my case, it made my parents remember I even existed. When I got married, they didn't show up. No call, no message, just silence. But the day I parked a $135,000 Porsche outside my house, they suddenly wanted to reconnect. The irony? The same people who once said I'd never amount to anything now bragged about me to everyone they knew. But before you think I let them back in easily, let me tell you how deep their betrayal cut, and why I had to walk away. Growing up, I was the middle child, the one forgotten in family pictures, the one whose birthdays were too expensive to celebrate. My parents adored my older brother, Ryan. He was the golden boy, straight A's, athlete, everything they wanted. My younger sister, Lily, was the baby, spoiled and adored. Me? I was the quiet one, which basically meant the one we don't pay attention to. I tried to earn their love, top grades, chores, even skipping hangouts to help around the house. But every time, it was that's nice, but Ryan just got into honors again. I started realizing I could cure cancer, and they'd still only ask how Ryan was doing. That's when I learned silence isn't peace, it's punishment. When I met my fiancée, Emily, she became my anchor. She really saw me, for the first time in my life. When we got engaged, I hoped it would be the moment my parents finally cared. But instead of joy, they gave me judgment. You're too young, she's not from our circle, you can't even afford a real wedding. Still, we planned a small, heartfelt ceremony. I sent them invitations, called, even visited home. My mom said, we'll see if we can make it. My dad just grunted. The wedding day came, and they never showed. I waited until the last song faded, staring at my phone, half hoping for a text that never came. Emily tried to console me, but the truth hurt, my parents chose pride over their own son. That night, I promised myself I'd never beg for love again. After that wedding heartbreak, something in me changed. I stopped seeking their approval and started building my own life. Emily and I lived in a small apartment, surviving off ramen noodles and dreams. I worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at a tech startup and late nights freelancing. Sleep became a luxury, but I refused to give up. I wanted to build something I could be proud of, something that proved I was more than the forgotten son. 5 years later, my software company took off. One viral product turned into contracts, investors, and more work than I could handle. Emily stood by me through every failure and sleepless night. Eventually, I bought us our dream home, and yes, that Porsche. Not to flaunt wealth, but because it represented every "you'll never make it" I'd ever heard. Every ignored call. Every empty seat at my wedding. For the first time in my life, I felt seen, not by my parents, but by myself. It started with a Facebook post. Emily uploaded a photo of me standing next to the Porsche, captioned "Hard work pays off." Within hours, my mom commented, "So proud of our son." I almost dropped my phone. Proud? The same people who ghosted my wedding were now broadcasting pride like they'd been there all along? A week later, I got a call from my dad. "We should catch up, son. Maybe come over for dinner?" His tone was too sweet, too forced. I decided to play along. When I arrived, they greeted me like royalty. Suddenly, I was our successful son. My brother, Ryan, even asked if I could help him find investors for his business. My mom served my favorite meal, the same one she'd forgotten I liked for a decade. It was all so fake, so painfully obvious. They didn't miss me, they missed the version of me that had money. Halfway through dinner, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I looked my parents straight in the eyes and asked, "Would you have called me if I was still broke?" My mom froze. My dad cleared his throat. "Son, don't be dramatic." "Dramatic?" I said. "You missed my wedding. You didn't even send a message. But now that you see a Porsche in the driveway, suddenly I exist again?" Ryan tried to laugh it off, saying, "Come on, man, you're family." "No," I replied. "Family shows up when you have nothing. You showed up for the car." Silence filled the room. My mom's eyes watered, but I didn't feel sympathy, just exhaustion. I stood up, dropped my napkin on the table, and said, "You can keep your dinner. I'll keep my dignity." Then I walked out. That was the last time I stepped into that house. It's been 2 years since that dinner. My parents occasionally text, usually about visiting or how nice it would be to spend time again. I don't ignore them completely, but I keep my distance. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted, but then I remember the wedding. The silence. The pain. Love shouldn't be conditional on success. Now, I focus on what really matters: Emily, my friends, and the small family we're building. People who loved me before the money, before the Porsche, before the success. Every time I drive that car, it reminds me of my journey. It's not about showing off, it's about survival. It's proof that you can grow from neglect and still choose kindness, even when others couldn't. In the end, I learned that validation from others is temporary, but self-respect lasts forever. My parents didn't remember me when I needed them, only when I had something they could admire. But I realized something powerful: I don't need to prove anything anymore. Success isn't measured in money, cars, or attention, it's measured in peace. So if you've ever been ignored, undervalued, or forgotten, remember this: your worth doesn't depend on who claps for you. Sometimes, the loudest revenge is simply living well and refusing to let the past define you.